just like the majority of the 3rd Infantry are infantrymen down here. In order to get down here for the initial selection phase, basically all you have to do is raise your hand and meet the high requirements. That's it. There's no special secret sauce. You're just in the old guard, you volunteer to come down here, and you meet the high requirements. When you come down here, you're input into a 2-week training program, which is called Tomb Guard Training Cycle. And in that 2 weeks, it's basically just a crash course of learning how to become a Tomb Guard. We're basically seeing how coachable a person is, how adept they are to learn what we do down here, and how dedicated they are to do the job. So that 2-week tryout, at the end of that 2 weeks, we either say you're selected or you're not selected. If you're not selected, you just go back to your normal jobs at the 3rd Infantry. If you are selected, you come down here and begin your training pipeline. So training pipeline down here takes anywhere between 9 to 12 months. And through that process, there's a series of 4 tests. So each test has 3 different categories. The first test is knowledge. So throughout your training program here, you're issued 17 pages of knowledge. By the end of your training, so for your final test, or what we call our badge test, you have to basically handwrite all 17 of those pages from memory. So at the end of training, you're handed 17 blank pages of paper, and you handwrite those 17 pages. The next category for testing is uniform. Everything on our uniforms, from literally head to toe, is handcrafted, hand shined, hand tailored, hand stitched. We take apart everything, and you guys will see uniforms here in a couple moments, but the uniforms are completely different from what you're probably used to. Everything that we do is tailored by hand. So for our final uniform test, for our badge uniform test, you're only allowed to have 2 deficiencies from head to toe. So we measure everything down to 1/64 of an inch on our uniform. So normally when you go to like pin ribbons or something on your like ASUs or AGSUs, it just like looks good. For us, we have to carry around what's called a micrometer, which is just a small ruler that has, once it's broken down inches into 1/64 of an inch. So we measure everything to 1/64 of an inch. So for our ribbons, for example, they have to be exactly 8 ticks, we call it, which is just 1/4 of an inch. And then if your metals rack is 1/4 of an inch and 1/64, that's 1 deficiency. So you're only allowed to have 1 more deficiency on your entire uniform from head to toe. So we're grading how shiny our shoes are, how our hat looks, how everything else are, like, we call our things on our shoulders, we call them cockades, but they're basically like your DUIs that you would wear. We measure those. Everything on our uniform is measured again down to that 1/64 of an inch. So you're only allowed to have 2 deficiencies for your final test. The third category for testing is what we call outside performance. Your outside performance is the guard change that y'all just watched and have seen in the past. We're grading everything out there, from posture to how your walk is, if your walk is very smooth, to if your elbow is at 90 degrees, if it's canted left, right, up, down. We're looking at absolutely everything out there. And then the sequence of the guard change as well. How are you clicking your heels together? How are you walking? Are you doing everything in the specific cadence that we're putting out? And for your final test, you're only allowed to have 2 deficiencies outside as well. So for example, if your elbow is a little bit down here for 1 movement, that's 1 deficiency. You're allowed 1 more for your final test. So once you pass all of those tests, based on that criteria, you pass your badge test, and then you become what's called a permanent badge holder here at the tomb. So once you pass that final test, you're issued a number, and your number coincides with the spaces that we have up on that board there. So once you pass your test, you get your name plaque up on that board, and you become a recipient of the Tomb Guard badge. The Tomb Guard badge is the 3rd least awarded badge in the Army. The military really. The 1st least awarded is the astronaut badge. The 2nd least awarded is the military horseman badge. If y'all have seen like the caisson unit that brings caskets in and out of the cemetery back and forth, they're awarded less than us because they only began awarding the badge I think in like 2010, so it's still pretty new. But as far as we go, the first badge was awarded on February 7th, 1958, and since then there's only been 735 badges awarded. So it's roughly about 4 to 5 a year that are awarded. And again, like I explained, that criteria, of course, is very strict, so that's why there's only 735 awardees. If you look closely to that board, you'll see lots of names, dates, and numbers, but some of the plaques will say the words revoked. And the reason for that is because the Tomb Guard badge is revocable at any time in your entire life. So this is not just a 2-year assignment. Generally, we spend about 2 years here walking and serving at the tomb, but after we leave here, we're tied to this place for the rest of our lives. So it is the only badge in the entire military that's revocable after your service is completed. So your military service is completed. Let's say you only did 3 years in the military, but you served here and earned your Tomb Guard badge. If you're 99 years old and you do something that's not in line with the standards, traditions, and what's kept, what we're meant to keep basically here as Tomb Guards, you can get your badge revoked. It's the only badge that can be revoked after military service. You can be completely unaffiliated with the Army, and they can revoke your badge for really anything that overshadows the unknowns, anything that takes away from the mission here, the sanctity of this place, that overshadows what the unknowns have sacrificed. You can get your badge revoked for that. So that's basically how we pass our training and earn our Tomb Guard badge. Any questions on that process?